speaking of Zohran, there's a new New York City mayoral general election poll from Zenith Polls and Public Progress. The most comprehensive poll of the race finds Mamdani with a commanding 28-point lead in a five-way race and getting over 50% head-to-head versus Cuomo. This is from Adam Carlson, who blocked me a long time ago, but I think he's been pretty good on this stuff. Here are some top line from the stats. 85% of young men support Zohran Mamdani. 75% of young women support Zohran Mamdani. 67% of Jewish people aged 18 to 44 support Zohran Mamdani. 65% of black people aged 18 to 44 support Zohran Mamdani. Would you have guessed any of that with how the media has covered all of this? Obviously, no poll is perfect and you shouldn't get comfortable, but my point is Zohran Mamdani is doing a lot better than the way the media has covered him. Post-primary poll data for progress suggests Mamdani's criticism of Israel and support for Palestinians attracted voters. Who could have told you that? Who kept repeating this over and over again? Yes, I'm going to do Crystal Ball's Slotkin interview as well, where she destroys Eliza Slotkin. 78% of Dem voters agree with Mamdani's belief that Israel was committing a genocide in Gaza, and 63% back his pledge to arrest Netanyahu. 60% of Dems are more likely to support a candidate who doesn't visit Israel. Mamdani drew fire from his rivals for saying he wouldn't want to travel to Israel as mayor. According to the poll, 60% of Democratic Party voters, primary voters, said they are more likely to support a candidate who declines to visit Israel by citing the need to focus on local issues. I kept repeating this over and over again throughout the past election. This didn't happen overnight. This kind of enmity did not come across overnight. Seems increasingly obvious that Gaza is going to be the defining wedge issue in the 2028 Dem primary. Holy Toledo. Here is Harry Enton talking about it as well. There's more information coming out on this as well because Israel's starvation campaign is continuing. 2/3 or more of the New York City Democrat primary voters agree with Zohran Mamdani's position on Israel, including arresting Bibi. 57% say they might oppose Dems who don't endorse Mamdani for mayor. That includes party's two Brooklyn-based leaders in Congress. This is something that they are incredibly fearful of. It is not Zohran Mamdani's failure that people are fearful of. Democrats are worried that he will succeed. Democrats are worried that he has succeeded. Because when he succeeds, people are emboldened. People go, hold up, we can demand more from our politicians. Why aren't you like him? It turns out there are people who can just say Israel and still win. And I say Israel. Why aren't you saying it? Here's the new Gallup poll on this as well. American support for Israel's military campaign against Hamas is called to a new low, 32%. Still, 71% of Republicans approve Israel's actions in Gaza. Just 8% of Democrats back the Israeli government's war plans. 8%. And by the way, remember, Democrats were already at 18% in January. Only 18% of Democrats were in favor of Israel's actions in Gaza in January of 2024. This was always an incredibly partisan problem. The very fact that our Democrats our politicians did not actually respond to this major issue of crisis, major conflict is ridiculous. New polling commissioned by Semaphore shows how the anti-Israel craze has remade the Democrat Party. 78% of Democratic primary voters in New York City believe that Israel is committing a genocide in Gaza. Democrats are going to have to start deciding if they'd rather avoid criticism for AIPAC or win elections. I want you to understand something. This is why I kept saying over and over again that this was a non-starter even in the election cycle. This did not change overnight. Make no mistake. The very same attitude that people are now coming to recognize existed already within the Democratic Party's base of support. This is why I kept saying over and over again that Kamala Harris avoiding this issue is idiotic. Remember that. This is why I kept repeating over and over again that you can't just simply say, oh, dude, Muslims need to suck it up and vote for Kamala Harris. It's like, this is a major problem. This is a major problem for the Democrats if they don't address it. And they didn't address it, and they lost the election. They were willing to throw the election away in favor of a psychopathic fascist like Donald Trump, who would seize control of every facet of government and ruin what remains of the moral fabric that holds society together, specifically so they could avoid talking about Israel, as Israel kept doing is genocide. And now you have all of these prominent Democrats finally coming to that conclusion. Now you have the media finally covering this issue. I cannot repeat this enough, okay? We were right from the start, and they lied about it. The media lied about it. The media obfuscated the truth. The media kept repeatedly making it seem as though there was actually a base in the Democratic Party's a base of support that demanded more in terms of defending Israel, in terms of continuing Israel's genocide. That was always bullshit. That was never real. And I kept repeating over and over and over again that if they don't care about the moral calculation here, if they didn't care about the immorality of supporting a genocide, at least they could have taken a position from a totally cynical, amoral, bloodless, election-focused attitude. They could have just literally faked their support for Palestinians, specifically because they want to win the election, because it is a popular winning issue. And yet on both fronts, I kept getting yelled at. I mean, look at the Podjons now versus like the conversation that I had leading up to the election. I want to show you something here.
And I don't think Democratic candidates should take money from AIPAC or vote to fund military support for Israel anymore. Like, I really don't. In this government, absolutely not. And that especially includes, I think, the next Democratic nominee for president.
Things I want to see Democrats at least calling for is cutting off military assistance to Israel. It's a rich country, by the way. They don't need our $3 billion a year. And hands up, right? Barack Obama signed a 10-year MOU for $3.3 billion a year. Like, so you're part of the problem here. Let's correct it. I would like to see talk about sanctioning Israeli government officials who use genocidal rhetoric or who talk about ethnic cleansing openly. We should support a ceasefire resolution at the UN. We should demand that international press be allowed into the Gaza Strip to report on what's happening without an IDF minder. It's insane. The press still can't go into Gaza and cover what's happening. And I also think, like, there has to be a total mindset change in the Democratic Party. When the war ends, we are not going back to the pre-October 7th status quo, because it's not where the party is. It's not where the world is. We're not going to shovel billions a year in military aid. We're not going to veto every effort to recognize a Palestinian state at the UN. We should not take money from AIPAC. And, like, I will hold out hope for better political leadership in the U.S. and in Israel. But we have to also recognize that the Biden era hug Bibi Netanyahu strategy has to be thrown.
This change did not happen overnight, chat. You need to understand.